Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. One surprisingly successful movie in the last few years was Countdown. There, a nurse and her sister download an app that can tell them when they're going to die. After finding out that the app is real and they only have 2 days left to live, the siblings must find a way to survive before their timer hits 0. Meanwhile, they're being taunted by demonic visions that are slowly driving them crazy. In this video, we'll look at what happens in the movie as well as how to overcome the demonic visions and beat the curse. The movie begins at a party where we see a few teenagers playing drinking games. There, one of the girls recommends the group a weight loss app. While searching for it, they stumble upon another app that can allegedly tell them when they're going to die. Just for fun, they download it to see who would die first. Most of them have a few decades left, but Courtney's phone says that she only has 3 hours to live. She shows it to her boyfriend, Evan, but he thinks it's just a bunch of nonsense. At the end of the party, Courtney is about to be driven home by Evan, but he's completely wasted. She decides not to go with him. Immediately after this, she gets a notification from the new app. It says that she has broken the user agreement. Courtney starts walking home but gets followed by a hooded stranger. Luckily, she makes it safely to her house, but when her timer starts approaching 0, her phone starts making loud noises that can't be stopped. To calm down, she goes into the bathroom to get a glass of water. As she does this, she gets attacked by something and is thrown into the air. When her timer goes to 0, she is dropped to the floor and dies. At about the same time, her boyfriend crashes his car and we see that Courtney would have been impaled by a massive tree branch had she driven with him. In Courtney's situation, it would have been much safer to stay with her friends than going home alone. Understandably, she doesn't want to ride in a car where the driver is obviously drunk, but if she's scared for her life, she can ask to sleep over at a friend's place or walk home with someone else. As we'll see throughout the movie, almost all the deaths happen when people are alone. The demon never seems to actually kill anyone if there's a random stranger nearby. We're going to look at this in more detail later, as there are more steps that need to be done to survive, but it's one of the most consistent things in the movie. We cut to Quinn Harris, a nurse working on a local hospital. There, Evan, the guy who survived the car crash, is currently awaiting an important surgery. He tells Quinn about the app, and out of curiosity, she and all of her colleagues download it. This time, Quinn's countdown says that she has less than 3 days left. In the meantime, Evan looks at the countdown app, which tells him that he'll die during the operation. To calm down, he goes out of his room but is followed by a dark creature. Evan tries running from it and flees to the stairs. When he enters, the lights shut off. He begins hearing footsteps and sees a demonic version of Courtney. When his countdown runs out, he is thrown off the railing and falls to his death. During Evan's death, there isn't any new information that's given to us, but we do see that he died when he was alone. It was only when he was alone in the staircase that he started seeing the demon. Now, being in a crowd or with others, that alone won't save you from being killed, but as you'll see, it plays a key role in your survival. What some people might think is that even if you're in a crowd, the demon will still come to kill you, but it will simply be invisible to everyone else. And that was my first thought too. But later in the movie, we see that the demon can be seen by everyone. This is a scene towards the end of the film where the being approaches a group of people, and this character over here doesn't have the countdown app, yet he can see the demon as well, so it's visible to everyone. Upon hearing the news that Evan died, Quinn is surprised to see that the app accurately predicted his death. She tries looking at his phone to get more information, but it's locked. And the way the phone is opened is one of the strangest things I've ever seen. It says complete the circle to unlock, and Quinn interprets this as the phone needing a fingerprint to open. So she goes into the morgue and finds Evan's dead body to get his fingerprint. Then she requires a face scan to gain access to his phone. Okay, what is she doing right now? If you're doing Face ID, you can't hold it half an inch from his face. And she's holding it over his forehead. From that angle, all the camera sees is his eyebrows. You can't hold it like this. You hold it like this, like a normal person, not like this. When she unlocks it, she sees that his countdown has reached 0. Seeing this, she cancels her plans for the weekend. She was supposed to go out with her younger sister, but the app tells her that this is the exact time that she dies, so she doesn't want to go. After she cancels it, her phone too says that she has broken the user agreement. She sees this while walking down an empty corridor. Then while passing an open room, she sees the outline of the demon. Only a few seconds later, the lead doctor talks to her. The outline of the demon here is the first time Quinn has a vision. These visions will start once the user agreement is broken. You will be taunted by demonic visions until the moment of your death. This is not the demon coming to kill you, but it's simply messing with you, trying to make you crazy. After seeing this, Quinn gets really bothered by the app, so she tries to delete it, but no matter what she tries, it simply won't uninstall. That evening, she investigates the death of Courtney in her apartment. She sees a video of the demon attacking one of the people whose countdown runs out. After that, she's startled by the dead Evan screaming at her. What's important to note here is that this is another demonic vision, this time of Evan. However, these visions can't hurt you. If it's not your time to die yet, nothing will happen. Once you understand this, you'll get a lot less scared by them. Yes, they might startle you a bit, but then you can just start making fun of them. At this point, they're basically like the underpaid actors in a haunted house. They can scare you, but they're not allowed to hurt you. So that night, Quinn sleeps in her car out of fear that something is in her home. In the morning, her sister Jordan asks if she can stay in the apartment instead of being babysitted, but Quinn tells her that it's not a good idea. Jordan sees that she downloaded the app and also gets quite curious. Later that day, Quinn goes to a phone store and asks to buy a new one with a new SIM card, but only a few seconds later, that phone too has the Countdown app. Now it's unclear if deleting the app actually does anything. I assume that having it contributes at least a little bit to the curse, since the characters spend a good portion of the movie trying to uninstall and delete it. Otherwise, if it made no difference if they owned the app or not, why would the film focus so strongly on it? So if removing the Countdown helps, you can get a phone that doesn't support any third-party apps. Get one of those old Nokia phones that can only display green and black. You can also get a simpler phone that doesn't have enough storage. It's later revealed that the program takes up about 60 gigabytes of space. Simply get a phone that doesn't even have that much storage and you should be good to go. The app is now successfully off your phone and cannot be installed. After getting the new phone, she goes into her car, where she sees the demon in her back camera. But when she looks out the window, nothing is there. When she looks at it closer, it appears right behind her, grabbing her face. This causes Quinn to back up and run into another car in the parking lot. This tells us that driving while the app is counting down can be extremely dangerous. Since the vision can appear at any point in time, it can cause you to get into an accident, which can impair your ability to survive the curse. So try to only use public transportation. If it attacks you there, you might seem like a weirdo in public, but it's much safer. Anyways, the owner gets pretty upset and goes to yell at her. Then a guy called Matt comes to defend her and tells the man to get away from her. He overheard her talking in the store and says that he knows she's seeing things, and so is he. Matt shows her his phone and it's revealed that he too owns the Countdown app, and his runs out a few hours before Quinn's. The two go to a bar to discuss what's happening to them. They talk about the strange moment when the app tells them that they have broken the user agreement. Both of them are really confused as they have no idea what the agreement even says. They want to look at the terms and conditions, but the only way to read it is when the app is open for the first time. They find some flat earther in the bar and tell him about the app. When he downloads it, they see that by accepting the terms, they must accept their fate and can't use the app's information to alter it. This is what they both did by canceling trips where they were supposed to die. So since they won't die naturally, a demon is after them. They decide to go to the priest in Quinn's hospital. They tell him about the app, however he doesn't really believe in this sort of stuff. But he knows someone else who can help. Before they leave, Matt goes to the bathroom. In there, he also sees a vision, taunting him about his little remaining time. But when another man comes into the room, the being disappears. This is the clearest evidence we get that the visions disappear when a stranger sees you. So if you're constantly around people who don't have the app, they won't appear. Instead, they happen exclusively when you're alone in your apartment or alone in your car, something like that. What you can do to avoid situations like this is hire a bodyguard to follow you around everywhere. The guys, Matt and Quinn, show that they have a few $1,000s and a car they're willing to trade in. That should be enough to hire a security guard for a few days. The average cost for a security guard is $30 an hour. $30 an hour times 24 hours times 3 days is $2,160, which by overdrawing their credit cards and selling the car, they can scrap together. You don't even need to get a good security guard, since they only have to take care of a fake demon that disappears once a stranger approaches. The toilet situation is a little tricky, since they can't stand in front of the urinal for you. But the guard can wait outside, and when something attacks you, you can scream for help. The guard walks in, and just like how the man who walks in on Matt makes the vision disappear, so would the guard. But again, this doesn't stop the demon from killing you. This is only effective against the creepy visions. However, if your timer runs out, you'll still die, because it's not the visions that kill you, but the demon. Quinn and Matt decide to go to the other priest that was recommended to them. They find him in the back of a local church eating all the Body of Christ chips. They ask him if he believes in real-life demons, and he does. He looks through a few religious texts and finds a story that is very similar to theirs. It's about a prince who needs to lead an army into battle. Looking for help, he goes to a gypsy woman and asks if he will survive. She gives him a piece of paper with a number on it. The woman tells him that it's the exact time he will die, but he can't use the information to save himself. The prince looks at the number and determines that it's during the battle he's supposed to be in. Out of fear, he sends his younger brother to war instead. However, the brother doesn't die and surprisingly wins the battle. The gypsy woman then tells the prince that now a demon named Ozen will track him down and torment him until he dies. The priest tells the two that he believes that this app is a modern version of that curse, and if he could only see the source code of the app, he will know for sure. Quinn tells him that she knows someone who can hack into the app. They go back to the repair store and ask the owner to hack it. He tells them no, but after bribing him with their credit cards, he accepts. He looks into the app's code and sees everybody's countdown, including Quinn's younger sister Jordan's, which runs out a few minutes before hers. Among all the timers is some Latin, which they take a picture of. Derek also shows them that he can simply increase the timer by adding any number of years to their countdown. They all increase their timer by a reasonable number of years. Thinking they have beaten the curse, they decide to go home together to talk about what has happened. Once they fall asleep, all the lights go out. In the middle of the night, Quinn hears someone outside their door. She tries waking up Matt, but he seems to be sleeping too tight. The footsteps keep approaching and eventually the door opens, but instead of it being some stranger, it's Matt himself. Quinn then notices that the arm around her is not really Matt's, but a demon's. She gets attacked by it, but when Matt intervenes, it disappears. They get a notification on their phone and see that their countdown went back to what it was. All the years Derek added are no longer there. Now their method of changing the timer actually seemed to work, but only for a short time. The movie shows that it takes at least a few hours for their timer to update to go back to what it was, so there is something they can try. Quinn and Matt can ask Derek to do the exact same thing and increase their timer a short period before the countdown runs out. Since we see that it takes quite a while to update and display the correct time, by the time the countdown app shows their real timer, it would already be past 0. This is crucial because Father John later tells them that you only need to survive 1 second longer than what the countdown app says in order to survive. The method I just outlined is of course not guaranteed. I mean, let's be honest, nothing in this video is, but it's at least worth a try. We cut to Quinn's sister Jordan as she's being babysitted at home. She sneaks around the house to get her phone and sees that her countdown is also going back to what it was. Then she sees a shadow creature around the house that keeps coming closer. She doesn't know what to do, so she hides under the bed. She also gets attacked by a vision, so she tries to flee the house. Once she goes outside, Jordan runs into Quinn and Matt. They all agree that it's best to quickly go to Father John and ask him for help. After they arrive, he looks at the Latin written in the app's source code and sees that it's a curse from the devil. He interprets this as good news and tells them that if they can prove Satan a liar, they can break the curse. All they need to do is survive the countdown 1 second longer than they were supposed to and the curse is broken. Another option is killing someone whose countdown shows that they have much longer to live. Father John tells them that there are protection rituals to buy them enough time to beat the curse. One such way is to make a special circle of salt and they're safe inside. They mix some salt with paint and draw it on the floor. And this, Father John tells them, will keep them safe from Ozen. With only minutes left on Matt's clock, they go inside it. Suddenly, the lights go out. Seconds later, Ozen arrives but can't seem to enter the circle. Once he realizes this, he disappears and Matt's phone starts making loud noises.
Where did he go? Turn it off! I'm trying!
Moments later, the demon reappears in the form of Matt's younger brother. The others focus on the loud noises that the app is making, but Matt doesn't hear any of it. He talks to his brother and gets lured out of the circle. Suddenly, a hand grabs his leg and Matt gets dragged away by the demon. He's then chased out into the street. Both Quinn and Jordan run after him, only to see him get hit by a car once his timer finally hits 0. Matt's death was probably avoidable. As the others were focused on the loud sounds of their phone, he was seeing his brother. But as we've seen many times now, if you're interrupted by someone, the vision stops. Now Father John is nearby, however he isn't looking at Matt and is completely distracted by the noises. If both Father John and Quinn would talk to Matt, he would most likely snap out of the vision, just like he did in the bathroom when the stranger walked in. We also see the best way to avoid the demon. It is to simply draw the circle of salt on the floor and it can't enter once it's been blessed. But here's the part where being around others really matters. We see that Matt was easily manipulated into stepping out of the circle. If you had someone else paying attention to you, they could stop you from exiting. And it's important not to be distracted by anything. So look at each other and not your phones, and make sure nobody walks out. If your phone starts making noises, just throw them away. In fact, you shouldn't even bring it in the first place. After they all walk out of the church, Jordan reveals that she got injured and quickly needs to go to the hospital. Now during Matt's death, it kind of made sense for Matt to exit the circle. He believed to see his younger brother, even though he knows the demon is playing tricks on him. And Quinn went after him because she really liked him. But there is absolutely no reason for Jordan to exit the circle. It doesn't make sense for her to run after Quinn because the demon comes after Jordan first. Her timer runs out 3 minutes before Quinn's. By staying in the circle, she would have automatically saved her sister. They all know that the demon can't hurt them if it's not their time. That's what Father John told them. And the visions don't really do anything. Running after Quinn only made things more complicated than they needed to be. If she simply stayed in the circle, they would have beaten it once Jordan's timer runs out. Also, in a situation like this, it's important to act selfish. Don't worry about helping others. Save yourself first, then assist your friends. Because they're dealing with supernatural forces, it's highly unlikely that you can do anything to help them anyways. So they arrive at the ER and get Jordan fixed up, but there is no more time to get back to John's church. Quinn then gets the lethal amount of morphine. Her goal is to die a few seconds early to disprove the curse and save Jordan. Once the drug starts taking effect, the demon turns into a cloud of dust and falls apart. They've beaten the curse but suffered a big loss. Jordan then walks over to her sister and sees that she should inject her with something called Narcan, which counteracts the morphine overdose. After doing this, Quinn wakes up and appears to be alright. They survived only 2 seconds before Jordan's death. Here we see that you don't actually need to die when the timer hits 0. You simply need to be in cardiac arrest. The demon doesn't go by the biological definition of death, which would be brain and brainstem death. Instead, it goes after the clinical definition, which is simply lack of a heartbeat and breathing. The difference being that people do come back from clinical death, however biological death is irreversible. The morphine overdose just put Quinn in cardiac arrest, so she meets the clinical definition of death. With this information, we know that even if you do technically die, there is a slim chance that you can be brought back. Researchers estimate that 7% of people will make a full recovery. Since Ozen will only put you in cardiac arrest and count that as death and then leave, there is a chance you'll survive. This once again ties in with you being around others. Let's say Ozen drowns you. If you're alone, you will get irreversible brain damage that leads to death. However, if you're around your friends who can call an ambulance and perform CPR, there is a chance of you surviving. In Ozen's eyes, you technically died because you're in cardiac arrest, so his job is done, but you can still come back. So those are some of the ways to beat the death app from Countdown. We've looked at how to overcome the demonic visions and how to beat the demon. As always, let me know if I missed anything. I hope I get to see you in the next one. Bye guys.